Hi everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition, and today we're going to talk about what are we saying no to and what are we saying yes to. Now this can be a little tricky because sometimes we don't realize we're saying no because we're not physically saying no. Until we physically say no, our human consciousness registers it as we're saying yes. Now, anytime we are in a situation, a timeline that's closing out, we are technically saying no to the new ones when we won't leave it. We want to kind of keep holding on to it. We don't want to chance the next one. Because a lot of times when our newer realities come in, we can't see them yet because we still have all this old energy. I think the last video I did was similar in a sense that it can take a while when an old timeline ends for us to completely clear the energy of that old timeline to where we get to see the new one. It's not an instant thing. Now, sometimes it can be, but what I found, it's normally not. It's not instant. What you might get is a glimpse of what it is, but it's not physically here yet. So I might know if I am going, let's say I go to a gym every day, and all of a sudden the money that always came for me to pay for the gym membership, all of a sudden 1 month, it didn't come, or it came later than normal, and it makes me look at that thing. Now, money is a good way that our universe will sort of get our attention on something. It'll kind of take the money away for it, so we have to look at it. So in the minute the money wasn't there, like it was always there, you have to look at it and say, okay, what's going on with that? Usually that's not an issue. So I have to look at it. Now I might look at it and say, maybe I need to move on to a different gym. Maybe I need to go do something else. But I have to kind of look at the whole thing. Now I might contact somebody there and decide, well, maybe I'm supposed to, stay longer, extend my contract. And this is a way for me to look at it. But then I talk to someone there and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I feel like I'm really wanted there anymore. I don't like the tone of the email, or something might happen with that where you kind of feel pushed out. And a lot of times this starts to happen because vibrationally we've kind of outgrown the place, whether it be a job, a gym, it doesn't really matter. And we feel like people are maybe they're not as nice as they were before. They're almost pushing us out of the reality. And we have to go to a new one. But sometimes we want to kind of stay and hold on because we're afraid there is no new one. Now, there's a flip to this where sometimes you're in a reality where you might feel like you're not wanted in that reality. But there's a reason you're supposed to be there. You might be clearing programming. We're always clearing programming, but there's something you have to do there. And you might know, I'm supposed to stay here. I'm not supposed to get pushed out of this. So you really have to kind of look at what your energy is in the whole thing and decide, do I know I have a higher purpose here? And is it scarier for me to stay or scarier for me to go? That's going to be kind of a litmus test on which way which one you want to look at a little bit closer. If you're scared to leave, you could be holding on to a timeline that is ending, and you might also start to notice little things you didn't notice before. People might get on your nerves. You might notice the place isn't as pretty as it used to feel like it was. It doesn't look as new. It doesn't look as clean. It might feel like it's smaller because the more energetically, the bigger we get vibrationally, the smaller places are. That's why you might have gone into a place at one point years ago and thought, oh my God, this place is huge. And then the next time you go back in, maybe a couple of years later, you go back in and go, and it's actually kind of small. That's because vibrationally you're bigger. Your presence is bigger. And so things just kind of look smaller. And that can happen with a lot of the stuff that we do. So when you start to notice these things, people are not as nice as they used to be, or it looks smaller. It doesn't feel right anymore. And it might not have gotten your attention unless something triggered it, because you might have been doing something else, but your universe is trying to tell you, hey, this isn't going to be aligned much longer. You need to start thinking about leaving. And sometimes we get a couple months to kind of do that. Like if it was a gym and you have to give notice, you have to give a couple months so you can, because we do want to leave everything in the highest consciousness space we can. We never want to leave in anger or getting all pissed off about something. We want to make sure we resolve it all, and we can then go. And then you might start to see the new If it was a gym, someone might mention a new gym. It might not be time to actually join it yet, but you might kind of get a glimpse of what's coming. But it might not be time yet. And sometimes that can be a little tricky because our human wants to see the next step before we take our foot off the old one. We don't want to take that leap of faith into anything. But just remember, when you're staying in the old stuff, you're saying no to the new stuff. If you're holding on to the old stuff, you're saying no to the new stuff. If you're not doing something you feel like you need to be doing, and you feel you're kind of pressed by it a little bit, oh, there's things I need to go do, but I'm just not, for whatever reason, I'm procrastinating, I'm not doing them, you're saying no to the new stuff. Now, there's going to be a flip side of this where you could actually start to say no to the old stuff. And that's what you want to be doing. How do we know when we're doing that? When are we not allowing the old stuff to keep playing out? But you also have to look at the energy you come from every time we're doing this. I want to look at, what am I really saying no to? Is that I don't like the experience? I don't like the way I'm being treated here. What's the reasoning behind it? And probably reasoning is not the word I want to use. What's the feeling behind it? What's your emotion behind it? Because sometimes we can be in a situation and I can say, okay, no more to this. And sometimes the best way to do that is to leave the situation. If you've never spoken up, you might need to speak up. If you always speak up, you might need to shut up. You're going to always do the opposite of what your human go-to was. So that's how we can you go one extreme or the other, and then you kind of come back and you balance everything back out again. So just be aware of the realities you're in and what you're allowing, what you're kind of afraid to walk away from. The biggest thing for me, and I think I already said this, but which way do I fear the most? If I fear leaving, that probably means it's time for me to go. Especially when I look at it and it doesn't feel as fresh and new as it used to. And I've outgrown it. Vibrationally, you've outgrown it. And that's really what, anytime we leave a timeline, that's all that means. We've vibrationally outgrown it. We've vibrationally outgrown the people. We've cleared the programming. Another way to say it, we cleared the programming we had around whatever this is supposed to help us clear. When I said before, sometimes we're in situations that we don't feel welcome, in a sense, because we're trying to clear something. And usually we don't feel welcome. That's more of our inner monologue telling us we're not welcome because we're clearing programming. It might not be anything anyone's doing to show us that. And in the beginning, and we clear the programming, and then all of a sudden it might be something in the physical world that someone says. But remember, they have that duty to push you out. That's what they're supposed to do. That's what they said they would do. It's kind of like, that joke, if I'm still here and when by the time, this happens, just whatever, I don't want to be here anymore. You hear people say a lot of time, if I'm still doing this job in 20 years, drag me out of here. It's that's energetically what you agreed to with this person or these people. If I'm still in this place and it's like, say, May of 2021 and I have not walked away yet, then you need to push me out because I got other realities I have to go do. And I need to go. Now, normally it doesn't take too much for me once I start to feel the push, that energetic push. And you're going to find if you don't take the hint, you're going to continue it'll get worse and worse. It'll get escalated up. It'll get so distorted and maybe so disrespectful that you can't ignore it anymore. So just look at, sometimes it can be really subtle in the beginning. It might even be a more energetic what you're picking up than what someone's actually saying. It's just energetically you're feeling like, yeah, I'm not wanted here anymore. But remember, they're supposed to push you on your way. So if you have any anger or victim energy around it, clear it, go in your bathroom and scream it out to yourself. You don't need to, we never project it on anybody because it's still our stuff we're clearing. Know that they're supposed to shoo us on like little birds in a nest. They're kind of in that moment, the mama bird shooing us out of there going, you can't stay here anymore. You got other things you got to go do. So remember, when you're continuing to stay in this old stuff, you're saying no to the new stuff. And don't be scared, human scared, if you can't see the new stuff yet. That's completely normal because our body has to clear that old vibration. And sometimes it can take some time between the old, ending the old and beginning the new. So, okay, keep practicing the art of intuition.